Hey there, I thought I'd quickly get on here and do a recording. So this one is called Let's Talk About Humiliation. I have a literal PhD in shame, and so I know a little bit about humiliation, although to be honest, I haven't studied it much in the literature. I wanted to briefly share what I know about humiliation from experience as well as from reading about it. I'm trying to do short videos, so this is not a deep dive by any means. Um, so, at its core, shame is a self conscious emotion that makes us feel like we are wrong or bad, right? Guilt, on the other hand, is I have done wrong or bad. When you feel guilty for something that you've done, that might spark shame. So the two are closely connected because of because now you feel bad or wrong for having done something bad or wrong, right? But the two are not the exact same. So shame is different from guilt. Um, Most of us don't like to think of ourselves as bad or wrong because it's embarrassment. And so embarrassment is a byproduct of shame, right? You can feel embarrassment when you're alone privately or publicly in front of others, right? Which then that increases the intensity because being seen as shameful feels like the worst offense, right? This is when we're moving into humiliation territory. So humiliation is often directed at us from others, usually publicly. So you can feel ashamed by yourself in your room, in your home. No one could be there. You might do something and be like, oh God, this is really embarrassing. Oh God, this is, embarrassment is not as intense. Humiliation is different. This is somebody intentionally directing shame your way to make sure that you feel ashamed, usually publicly, right? This is a sense of humiliation um, because you're being shamed in front of others, which increases the intensity of it, but the intent also is to shame you, right? It's not just like, oh, we made this mistake and oh my God, I feel so bad. She's embarrassed, or we accidentally shamed her, or we called her out, and that might bring shame. Like humiliation is the intent is to cause somebody extreme amount of shame, usually in front of others, and it's typically to send a message, right? Don't forget that shame is all about control dynamics, it's all about power, it's all about domination. So when you are being humiliated, when we are humiliating somebody, the intent is to either get them to change something that they're doing that we don't like, it's to pay back, or to retaliate. It's for revenge, sometimes humiliation. It's to make them feel shame if they had made us feel shame. Humiliation is very much out of Brene Brown's 3 ways that shame moves us. Humiliation is very much shame that moves us against people, right? It's causing conflict, it's causing so much disruption um, on purpose, intentionally, to get that person to feel our wrath. Um, so that's basically the difference between humiliation, right? It's someone or a group of people, they set out to intentionally make you look bad or wrong in front of others. I raise this because we often underestimate the power of public shaming, but historically, shame was used as a form of punishment, right? Officials in the past used to think that it was more painful than prison. People would opt to shame people rather than to send them into prison. You'll see one of my hosts was saying they traveled somewhere and um, somebody had littered on the beach, and they were walking around the beach with a sign that said that they had littered, and shame, causing them shame. Folks who will steal something from a store, they'll put their photo up to shame them. Like, we understand that shame is very productive at getting people to feel pain. um, in ancient Greece, they used to put women who were cheating on their husbands or their partners, adultery. They would put them naked on the back of donkeys and parade them through town. Right, that is humiliation. You would have your ear cut off. Uh, you would be marked, right? The scarlet S. You would be branded as if you were chattel, which is what they did to the enslaved Black people, Black Americans in Americas and other parts of the diaspora, right? You're branding them as if they were cows. These are all forms of humiliation. If you humiliate somebody publicly, it sends a message to other people to stay in line. Remember, we just talked about shame as conforming. It is used to keep people in line. If we publicly humiliate you so bad, other people are going to be so afraid of that same humiliation that they're not going to act out. They're going to behave, right? This is what shame does: control, power, dynamics. And so that's humiliation for you. That's all I want to get into there. Don't underestimate the power of shame. Embarrassment is less intense, right? You can feel embarrassed over everything. Um, as Merritt F. Svinsteth and Paul Crawford explain in Healing, Neutralizing, and Preventing Humiliation, public shaming, that is humiliation, can drive people into psychologically compromised states. This is a quote, which in turn may develop into self or other directed violence. People will turn violent um, over humiliation, right? If we are serious about having our shame covered or hidden, when others threaten to expose such shame, we will go as far as to enact violence and retaliation, to fight shame with shame, to get aggressive. Brene Brown says this, others have said this. So we will stop at nothing. Some will stop at nothing to keep their shame hidden, including meeting people who draw shame in them with revenge, including intimidation, counter shame campaigns, or violence. And so, if you were to think of shame as a spectrum, embarrassment is on one side of the spectrum, which is not as intense. Humiliation is on the other side of the spectrum, which is really intense, right? So, have you ever felt humiliated? What did it feel like? Physiologically, what did it feel like in your body? Where did you feel it in your body? Uh, did it drive you to do something? Did you have to like go for a walk? Did you want to punch something? Did you get frustrated? Did you go online and vent? Were you angry? Other emotions will usually come up with humiliation, typically anger and rage, right? How long did it take you to recover from the humiliation? If somebody humiliated you, did you find it easy to forgive them? Because often when we are shamed, it's very hard to recover from shame, right? When somebody shames you, especially publicly, there's almost no coming back from that. There's no returning back from that. That's because it's so painful, it's so gruesome, shame. And so that's what I wanted to talk about here. Did your relationship survive? Okay? So that's a difference between embarrassment, humiliation, and shame. Until next time, in solidarity.